It's like the basketball theory. We're just, okay, Steph Curry's not going to shoot. We don't care who else or what else. We're just not going to let them have that shot. They need to be all over those two guys and just say, go beat us with Matthias Janmark. Let it be someone else.
Most points per game when facing elimination with minimum 5 games played. The most all time is Connor McDavid with 1.64. And on that list as well is Leon Draisaitl at 1.36. So these two guys are extremely good in this situation.
On a list with Gretzky and Lemieux, they're ahead.
Yeah. And Ron Wilson.
And Ron Wilson.
So good on Ron Wilson for being there.
I got a great tweet here from someone I follow, Archeola guy, he's an Oilers former blogger. Says, I wanted to see how many goalies had playoff seasons with more than 10 games played and how everyone stacked up by save percentage. That's 147 goalies have had 10-plus games in a playoff season going back to the 05 lockout. 129th is Stu Skinner in 2024. 142nd is Stu Skinner in 2025. 145th is Pickard in 2025. And 146th is Skinner in 2023. So nearly the worst seasons possible. They haven't got that extra save. So to me, it's like those two guys we talked about may be awesome. Skinner's going to have to be better than really bad.
In a few minutes, we'll welcome in David Amber, studio host, Hockey Night in Canada, NHL on Sportsnet.
I mean, they're in this Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, so it's really hard to be critical of the management team, but how do you not think about addressing this after what you saw last year with the up and down nature? I know you go to Game 7 or whatever, but it's just, if I'm an Oilers fan, that's what the biggest sort of, I don't know, the where I have my crosshairs is not having a more viable option for the primes of Draisaitl and McDavid. I don't know.
For sure, bud.
All right.
For sure.
From Sunrise in Florida, let's welcome in David Amber. DA, how are you, buddy?
Hello.
So, I thought we'd catch you in a tank top, but a T-shirt works too. Like, how hot is it down there? And like, what's happening here in Sunrise with the heat?
Well, it's Africa hot. Gene Principe is out there. You ever see ever see the movie Something About Mary and the neighbor likes to tan?
We can recall.
He's just bathed himself in Crisco oil, has this aluminum foil sort of thing he's got holding over his head. So he'll be nice and crispy tonight for our broadcast.
Looking good.
As far as the start, how imperative is it that the Oilers don't melt in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this game?
I mean, I think it's everything. They've been outscored 7-0 in the first period of the last 3 games, and we saw firsthand in Game 5, guys, like, if Florida has the lead, they're incredibly difficult to play against, and they dictate the tempo, and they play low event hockey when they need to, and they dictate the style of the game. And it's hard. It's hard to play against a team when you're chasing. Edmonton against Dallas, guys, in their 4 wins, they did not trail once. They forced Dallas on their heels. They made Dallas uncomfortable. And what we've witnessed in these Florida victories here in the Stanley Cup Final is Edmonton's been chasing the game. And yes, they've had 8 comeback victories. And yes, they did come back, of course, in Game 4 in dramatic fashion after trailing 3-0. But certainly that's not a recipe to go out and win a Stanley Cup against a very good Florida team. So I think that first period's imperative. I think the Oilers would love to play with the lead. They have not scored in the first period of the last 3 games, and I'm sure that's something that they're going to talk about coming out of the gate strong and forcing maybe Florida to be a little uncomfortable and not play the style of game that they maybe would prefer to tonight.
DA, the Florida Panthers have scored 5+ goals 12 times in this Stanley Cup playoffs. The most it's ever been done in the playoffs is 13. I want to say one of my dad's Islanders teams did it, but it's only happened twice before. You know, they kind of goes under the radar that they're a pretty good offensive team as well. Stu Skinner's going to be back in net for the Oilers tonight. Should there be some focus on the Oilers' part of, okay, we need to defend better, or is it just let McDavid and Draisaitl go and win the way they like to win?
Well, I mean, I think that's one thing that's maybe been understated in this final, guys. This has been one of the most dominant performances we've ever witnessed in a Stanley Cup final. As far as they're one of the most prolific scoring teams ever. They're the highest scoring road team in NHL Stanley Cup history in one single playoff year. And not just the 12 games where they put up 5 goals, but 13 times they've won by multiple goals. 9 times their victories have been by at least 3 goals. I mean, they're lapping the field, and throw in on top, they've started every single series on the road against Tampa, against Toronto, against Carolina, and now against Edmonton. It's been, if Florida wins tonight, I think as much as there's going to be sort of this shadow of disappointment surrounding the Oilers and, the pursuit of that elusive Stanley Cup for Connor McDavid, there's going to be a lot of narratives that come out of this. One narrative that shouldn't, we need to tell and we shouldn't fail to give it its flowers is just how good and dominant this performance has been start to finish by the Florida Panthers.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll follow it up with this narrative. If Florida finds a way to put this thing away, David, I'll start with you, and I'll get you guys to maybe chime in as well. But what is a bigger story? Florida winning back-to-back or Connor going 0 for 2?
Well, I mean, I think because of the nature of the sport of hockey, it's got to be Florida winning back-to-back. I think they could be the 4th repeat champion in 40 years or something, 35 years or whatever it is. It seems unfair. When you characterize it as Connor going 0 for 2, it'd be like he's a no-show. He hasn't been a no-show. He has 7 points in the 5 games. He's been at times one of the best players on the ice. He's done a lot to make this a winning situation. I think it's incumbent on some of his teammates to step up and produce. Evander Kane was sensational the first 2 games. Where has he been the last 3 games? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was such a force against Dallas. Where has he been in this series? Leon Draisaitl obviously has had 2 incredible moments with those overtime goals, but they certainly need a lot from him as well. They're missing Zach Hyman, and the goaltending continues to be an issue. I just don't think it's fair to characterize it as Connor 0 for 2. I just don't think that would tell the whole story. So in my eyes, at least, and I'm interested what Justin and Sammy and you think, but in my eyes, it's got to be this Florida team. They deserve a lot of praise, a lot of credit. And Connor McDavid continues to be the best player in the world, and he'll still chase that elusive first cup if that's how this plays out. Just like Ovechkin, just like Yzerman, just like Ray Bourque, just like a lot of the game's greats had to wait many, many years to do it.
I think we're talking about almost 2 different things in that. In hockey history, the Florida Panthers will be remembered as one of the all-time great playoff teams, right? They win 2 cups, 3 finals. The way they play, extremely memorable. We'll lump them in when we talk about the best playoff teams. But from a reality TV perspective, Connor McDavid going 0-2, and again, I'm with you, GA. He's not 0-2, but he's been a part of teams that now will have lost twice in the final. He's the most bloodthirsty, hungry, passionate cup guy, and that's going to be fascinating. What does that make him do with the rest of his decisions, his next contract with the Oilers? How are things affected from there will shape the NHL. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, especially here in Canada. At the end of the day, okay, we're going to tip our hat to Florida, but up here in Canada, nobody's going to care